A grand crystal chandelier hung from the high ceiling, casting reflections onto the linen-covered dining table. In the corner of an elegant VIP room, two middle-aged men sat across from each other, dressed in suits after a long day in court. Their faces were tired but satisfied. Jeon Gi-hoon, the founder and former CEO of GG Tech, one of South Korea's largest electronics companies, raised his wine glass. The company he had built from scratch over 2 decades ago, now led by his only son, Jungkook, had nearly collapsed under vile slander, accusations that they had been producing counterfeit versions of a competitor's product. Allegations that almost ruined the company's reputation, caused stock prices to plummet and led the entire industry to question the credibility of the GG Tech name. But sitting across from him now was the man who had turned the tide. Park Won-bin, his old college friend, was now one of the most respected corporate lawyers in the country. Not only was he GG Tech's permanent legal advisor, but he was also widely known for his integrity and razor-sharp legal strategies. "I still can't believe we actually won," Gi-hoon said softly, staring into his glass. "After all that pressure, all those false accusations, it feels like a dream." Won-bin smiled lightly, sipping his mineral water. "Thank goodness you didn't give up back then." Gi-hoon chuckled. "I almost did, Bin. Truly. I was ready to pay damages and settle things quietly. But then you came with all your crazy arguments and flipped the whole situation like it was nothing." "You know how much I hate injustice," Won-bin replied casually. "That company clearly copied your design. They just moved their launch a day earlier to make it seem like they came up with it first. Then they used that to sway public opinion and attack you." Gi-hoon nodded, his expression slowly turning serious. "If it weren't for you, I might have lost everything. My name, the company, and even my will to keep going." "You're not just my lawyer, Bin. You've always been my friend." Won-bin responded with a calm smile. "I just did what I had to. I know who you are. The world can accuse you of anything, but I know the truth." A waiter arrived with the main course, perfectly grilled Wagyu steak, served with red wine sauce and fresh vegetables. The delicious aroma filled their private space. Gi-hoon waited until the waiter left before speaking again. "Oh right, by the way, Yin has graduated, hasn't she? Are we moving forward with the plan?" Gi-hoon asked playfully. Won-bin chuckled. A warm smile spread on his face as he recalled his beloved daughter's graduation just 2 days ago. Won-bin adored Yin. She was his only child and his pride. "Of course, I can't wait to see our children stand side by side at the altar. I trust Jungkook to take care of my daughter." "Good. I'm also tired of seeing Jungkook still single at nearly 27. Won-bin and Gi-hoon laughed and began enjoying the meal before them. Yin still couldn't believe what her parents had just said. Her mind was still processing every word they uttered. "Mom, Dad, but I'm only 22. I just graduated. I haven't even thought about marriage yet," Yin protested. She couldn't fathom her parents' request. She still had so many dreams to fulfill before getting married. In her mind, marriage meant limitations. "There's nothing wrong with your age, sweetheart. We just don't want you to end up with the wrong kind of man again, like in the past," Jia gently explained. "But Mom, there's quite an age gap between us." "Just 5 years, that's not too far. In fact, it's good that Jungkook is mature and established," Won-bin replied. "Haven't you always been interested in Jungkook?" he teased afterward. Yin turned her face away, cheeks flushed red. She was embarrassed. She hadn't expected her parents to notice her feelings. Truthfully, she had secretly liked Jungkook for a while, but the marriage hadn't crossed her mind yet. Won-bin and Jia chuckled. "Jungkook will be a good husband to you. He'll make you happy. He'll support your dreams. Trust us. He won't hold you back." Yin sighed. Alright, if her parents had that much faith in Jungkook, then maybe she could try to trust him too. "You should be thanking me," Gi-hoon said with satisfaction as he saw the faint smile on his son's face. Jungkook cleared his throat awkwardly, quickly changing his expression back to neutral. "Has Yin agreed?" Gi-hoon and Yuri exchanged glances before laughing. It was nice to see their usually cold son blushing. "Yes, Yin has agreed. The wedding will take place in 3 months. You still have time to get closer to each other." Noticing the softness in Jungkook's expression, Yuri became curious. "Do you like Yin that much?" Jungkook immediately looked up, his heart pounding. He didn't know how to respond. "Is there any guy who doesn't like her?" was all he could say. His answer made Yuri and Gi-hoon burst into laughter. Their son was still so prideful. It reminded them of their own youthful days, filled with passionate love. Dinner between the two families felt different tonight, especially since a week ago Yin and Jungkook had agreed to the arranged marriage. Just as Gihoon and Wonbin had predicted, both Yin and Jungkook accepted the proposal without much resistance. At the round table, Yin and Jungkook kept stealing glances at each other. Yin had admired her father's friend's son for quite some time. To her, Jungkook was the perfect definition of an ideal husband: handsome, smart, established, and kind. The only downside was that he tended to be quiet and not very expressive. Quite the opposite of Yin, who was cheerful and full of energy. Jungkook had only been smiling faintly and occasionally responding to the parents' conversation. Now and then, he chuckled quietly at Yin's expressions and the way she talked. Truly amusing and adorable. Yin, now that you've graduated, where do you want to work? Asked Yuri, Jungkook's mother. Yin, who was chewing her food, quickly swallowed. She straightened up and looked at Yuri with eyes so bright that they mesmerized Jungkook. I just graduated, Andy. I haven't started job hunting yet, she giggled. Her words made everyone laugh, except Jungkook, who only gave a small smile. So right now, I'm still unemployed, she added with a grin. Jia, sitting beside Yin, affectionately patted her daughter's head. She and Wonbin had never pressured Yin to work right away. How about working at our company? Gihoon offered enthusiastically. Coincidentally, we're currently looking for someone to be Jungkook's secretary. Besides, your major fits perfectly. He then looked at his son. Isn't that right, son? Jungkook nodded. 3 days ago, his secretary, Kai, had resigned to start a business with his wife. So, he was still looking for someone compatible with his work style, and that wasn't easy. But I have no experience, uncle. I might just be a burden, Yin said hesitantly. Gihoon chuckled fondly. You'll have Jungkook. He'll teach you. He glanced at Jungkook, who still looked calm. What do you think, son? You're okay with Yin becoming your secretary, right? Jungkook looked around at the curious eyes watching him, and his gaze eventually landed on the beautiful girl staring at him innocently. If Yin wants to, then I don't mind, he replied flatly, as usual. Well, Jungkook's okay with it. You'd like that, wouldn't you, dear? Yuri asked Yin, just as excited. Yin smiled shyly and nodded. I'd love to, Andy. This was her chance to learn about the professional world. Plus, she felt safe. At least the company belonged to her fiancé. Great. This can be a step for you two to grow closer before the wedding, Wonbin said cheerfully. Sweetheart, you should learn as much as you can from Jungkook later. Yin nodded, her lips curling into a sweet smile. This was like hitting the jackpot, landing a job at the company of the guy she liked. Jungkook, remember, treat Yin well. Don't treat her like any other employee. She's your fiancé, Gihoon warned firmly. He knew very well that his son had a reputation as a strict and cold CEO. Jungkook sighed in annoyance. He knew that too. His father didn't need to remind him. The only thing he wasn't sure of yet was Yin's work performance. Hopefully, she wouldn't end up constantly testing his patience. Yin, you can always come to me if Jungkook ever goes too far, Yuri said warmly. She already thought of Yin as her own daughter. Yin giggled, happy to have everyone on her side. She definitely felt cherished and loved. Yes, Auntie. On Yin's first day at work, she quickly became friendly with several employees. Her cheerful and approachable nature made it easy for everyone to get along with her. Jungkook, on the other hand, hadn't given her much work yet. He knew it was her first job, so it was best not to overwhelm her right away. A week later, Jungkook began assigning her more tasks. As a result, Yin became much busier than before. On top of that, Jungkook treated her just like any other employee. They had agreed to keep their engagement a secret at work to avoid creating an uncomfortable atmosphere. Oh no, I'm dead, Yin exclaimed while in the pantry. What's wrong, Yin? Asked Yuju, her friend from the finance department. Yesterday, the boss asked me to finish a report for a meeting with a client. Yin quickly put away her half-finished coffee. And the report isn't done yet, just a little bit more to go. Yuju winced. She knew all too well that Jungkook was a perfectionist. He never tolerated delays, especially not due to forgetfulness. You're so careless, Yuju said with concern. How many times has Mr. Jungkook scolded you this month? While Yuju looked horrified, Yin just grinned casually. She had lost count of how many times Jungkook had scolded her. Anyway, I'm off before he turns into a lion. Wish me luck, Yin said with a laugh, rushing out. Bam bam, Yuju, and Mina watched her go with puzzled looks. That girl doesn't seem to fear anything, muttered Bam Bam. You're right. When Mr. Jungkook scolded me once, I wanted to cry. Yuju recalled being harshly reprimanded by Jungkook for submitting a financial report 15 minutes late. Ever since, she always worked overtime to finish everything before the deadline. She had learned her lesson. But when I saw him scold Yin, he didn't seem as harsh. Maybe because she's still new. Maybe. Besides, who could be mean to someone as sweet as Yin? Bam Bam chuckled. Yuju and Mina laughed. Yeah, Yin's innocent face and friendly nature had already drawn attention. Many men were interested in her, but Yin never gave anyone false hope. She was kind but clear. Yin stood with her head down. In front of her, Jungkook stared at her sharply. He let out a heavy sigh. Work was piling up, and Yin's frequent mistakes only added to his headache. Do you know what you did wrong? Jungkook asked coldly. Yin nodded without looking up. I know, Jungkook. I'll fix it right away. When no one else was around, she didn't hesitate to call him by name. Look at me when you're speaking. His words made Yin slowly lift her head. She swallowed hard when she saw the intensity in his gaze. What's making it so difficult for you? Why are you still making so many mistakes? He asked again. Just yesterday you messed up my meeting schedule, and now the report. Are you even serious about working? I am. I really am, Yin replied quickly. But it's not easy for me to keep up with your pace. You work so fast, she added softly. Jungkook let out a heavy sigh. He knew that Yin had always been pampered at home. She wasn't used to pressure yet, but he also couldn't keep tolerating her mistakes forever. Yin, listen, you may be my fiancé, but here, I'm your boss. I have to act professionally to keep this company running. If you think you can work however you want here, then you're mistaken. I'm seriously working. I'm not slacking off, Yin grumbled in frustration, her lips now forming a pout. She had been trying her best, but if there were still mistakes, shouldn't they be understandable? She had only been working for a month. She couldn't be compared to Jungkook's former secretary who had worked for years and was already used to the pace. Jungkook exhaled softly. He had to put his ego aside. It was clear that Yin didn't like being blamed outright. She always had something to say in return. If the one standing in front of him right now weren't Yin, he would have fired her already. I know, but you need to be more careful and learn from your mistakes. Seeing that she still looked upset, Jungkook stood from his seat and walked around the desk, stopping in front of her. Why are you still pouting? He asked, his tone now softer. Yin scrunched her lips and looked up at him. Because you're always scolding me, she complained. Jungkook flicked her forehead gently, making her glare at him with her lips still puckered. He chuckled, then softly rubbed the spot he had flicked. That's because you made mistakes. I have to point them out so you won't repeat them. But I'm your fiancé, and I'm still new here. You should be nicer to me, Yin protested. Jungkook held back a laugh. You've been here for a month. I've let you take it easy for that whole month. And this is the workplace. We have to separate it from our personal life. Besides, I'm not nearly as harsh on you as I am with others. I'm still a kind boss for you. Yin rolled her eyes. Sure, that was true, but she still couldn't help feeling a bit annoyed. All right, go finish your work. And remember, no more mistakes, Jungkook reminded her. Yin nodded. Let's get ice cream after work. Yin's sulky expression instantly brightened, her eyes lighting up. Really? Jungkook chuckled and ruffled her hair affectionately. Yeah, I'll get your favorite. Yin grinned wide, her frustration melting away. Turns out you're not so terrible after all, she teased. Jungkook scoffed and gently pinched her cheek. I'm a very kind man. You should be grateful to have me as your future husband, he said proudly. Yin's mouth dropped open. Since when did Jungkook get so full of himself? Rolling her eyes, she walked out of his office without saying goodbye, while Jungkook just chuckled and shook his head. It had been almost 2 months since Yin started working at Jungkook's company, and during that time, she still frequently made mistakes that ended up with Jungkook scolding her. Jungkook had even felt frustrated because his fiancée didn't seem to learn quickly from her previous errors. But on the other hand, he also couldn't bring himself to scold her as harshly as he would other employees. As much as she often made him annoyed, Jungkook deeply cared about Yin. On the flip side, Yin herself was getting irritated and tired of constantly being criticized for work that, in her opinion, was already good enough. However, she did realize that after double-checking, her work still had some errors, even if only minor ones. But Yin remained annoyed because Jungkook wouldn't stop nagging her. What an annoying future husband. That afternoon, Yin refused to have lunch with Jungkook. He had often invited her to eat together, using the excuse that a secretary should accompany her CEO. But since Yin was upset, she ran off to the cafeteria instead, ignoring Jungkook's earlier instruction for them to have lunch together. That's unusual. You're not eating with Mr. Jungkook today? Yuju asked as Yin sat down in the cafeteria. At the square table sat Yuju, Yin, Mina, Bam Bam, and Jaehyun. The cafeteria was its usual midday scene, noisy and full. Numerous food stalls were lined up for the employees to enjoy without spending any money. The menu changed daily, offering variety and preventing boredom. I'm mad at him, Yin grumbled to her friends. Why? Did he scold you again? Yuju guessed right on the mark. What mistake did you make this time, Yin? Aren't you tired of getting scolded by him? Mina chuckled, shaking her head in disbelief. Yin quickly swallowed her food and took a sip of her lime juice before looking at each of her friends. It was just a few spelling errors in my report. But he scolded me, Yin exclaimed in frustration. Bam Bam, Yuju, Mina, and Jaehyun burst out laughing. Yesterday, Mr. Jungkook was already mad because of issues with a product that's scheduled to launch in 3 months, Jaehyun said. He had attended the meeting and witnessed Jungkook's fury firsthand. Still, you've got guts. Aren't you scared of being scolded so often? Mina asked through her laughter. If I were you, I'd have submitted my resignation letter already, she added, shivering at the thought. Yin pouted. She wasn't afraid. After all, she knew Jungkook wouldn't fire her. And if he ever crossed the line, Yin had people who'd be ready to defend her. I'm just exhausted from being constantly criticized. I even worked overtime, you know, Yin complained with a frown. Just yesterday, she had stayed late until 7 p.m. to finish her report, but maybe because she was tired, there were a few spelling errors that, in hindsight, could have affected the result quite a bit. Yuju patted Yin's shoulder, feeling bad for her new friend. From what she could tell, Yin was like a pampered princess who had always been protected and doted on by her family, so it wasn't surprising that she wasn't used to workplace pressure. Do you guys want to hear what Mr. Jungkook said to me earlier? Yin asked excitedly. After getting a round of nods, she straightened up, ready to report every detail of her conversation with Jungkook. Yin cleared her throat dramatically. Do you know what your mistake is this time? Yin crossed her arms and mimicked Jungkook's deep voice. How many times have you made mistakes? Aren't you tired of making my head hurt? Then she pretended to hold up a paper and pointed at it. Look, how many critical typos are there? Everyone was laughing and paying close attention to her impression. They enjoyed her expressions and the way she imitated Jungkook's tone perfectly. But suddenly, all laughter faded when they saw Jungkook approaching from behind Yin and stopping right behind her. Since she had her back turned, Yin had no idea he was there. You want this company to go bankrupt? You didn't double-check the report? Yin, stop, Yuju whispered urgently, her face pale as Jungkook stared at them sharply. Stop what? I'm not done, Yin shot back. I'm still mad at that cold boss. She complained again. Yin, Bam Bam hissed, eyes wide, warning her to quit, but the girl wouldn't stop. He thinks I'm scared? No, we're all human. Everyone makes mistakes. How hard is it to just talk nicely? Of course. I'll fix it. Yin huffed and frowned at her friends who were all suddenly looking down. What's wrong with you guys? I now understand why you insisted on eating in the cafeteria today. That deep, low voice froze Yin on the spot. She knew that voice very well. Slowly, she turned around. Her eyes widened in shock when she saw the tall, handsome man standing behind her, arms crossed, eyes piercing. Yin gave a nervous grin. Her heart pounded. She was honestly a bit scared. Oh, boss, have you been here long? She asked awkwardly, instantly regretting the dumb question. Finished gossiping? Jungkook asked coldly. Yes, boss, Yin answered automatically, then slapped her own mouth shut. Crap, she slipped up. Yin gave a sheepish grin. Sorry, boss. Jungkook exhaled slowly. To my office, now, he said before walking away without waiting for a reply. Why didn't you tell me he was behind me? Yin whined, burying her face on the table. She was still upset with Jungkook and definitely not in the mood to deal with her fiancé. We tried to signal you, Yin, but you wouldn't stop. Yin huffed, then stood up and fixed her messy hair. Good luck in there, Yuju winced. I'll be fine, Yin said confidently. She pulled out a pocket mirror to fix her appearance. I'm just not in the mood to deal with that annoying boss, she grumbled again. Alright, go, before Mr. Jungkook gets even angrier, Mina said, gently pushing Yin to get her moving. Jungkook immediately stood up from his chair when Yin entered his office. He could see the pout on her face and the frustration in her eyes. Instead of staying at his desk, Jungkook sat down on the sofa. Yin remained by the door, unwilling to come closer. "Come here," Jungkook said, patting the spot beside him and gesturing for Yin to sit. But Yin didn't move. She just shot him a sharp glare. Jungkook secretly held back a smile. He wasn't angry. In fact, he found her childish behavior kind of adorable. "Come here, baby," Jungkook coaxed again, making Yin's cheeks flush. Damn it, Jungkook always knew how to change her mood so quickly. "Or do you want me to carry you over?" As Jungkook started to stand, Yin quickly walked over and sat down on the sofa. Her heart was already pounding just from the way Jungkook looked at her. She wanted to keep her heart safe, so she had no choice but to obey. Jungkook looked at her in amusement. "Still mad at me?" he asked gently. Yin gave him another side eye. "What do you think?" "But I scolded you because you made another mistake. I wouldn't get mad if your work was done right," Jungkook explained calmly. Yin knew. She knew she was in the wrong, but her pride was still too high. She couldn't accept that her fiancé kept scolding her over work matters. "You didn't have to get mad. You could have just told me nicely," she argued. "Aren't you tired of scolding me all the time?" she mumbled, still loud enough for Jungkook to hear. Jungkook chuckled. "Aren't you tired of getting scolded all the time?" "Of course I am." "Then do your work properly, my love. Be more careful." See, Jungkook would never cross the line when scolding her. That's why Yin wasn't afraid and was certain that Jungkook would never treat her badly. Yin pouted, then turned to face him. Her beautiful eyes stared into his with annoyance. "I was careful, but I worked overtime last night. I was exhausted. So you should be a little more understanding if there were a few spelling errors. It's not like it can't be fixed," Yin whined, sounding cutely annoyed. All right, I'll try to be more understanding." Jungkook gave in, just to settle things faster. Okay, it looked like he still had a good supply of patience left to keep teaching her. "But I have one request. Don't mimic me and talk about what I said in front of everyone like you did earlier. It's not respectful," Jungkook said, flicking her forehead lightly. Yin winced and rubbed her forehead, lips pursed. "I was just really upset," she muttered, still refusing to back down. Jungkook shook his head. Good thing she was his favorite girl. Was this karma for being too strict and hot-tempered with his employees all this time? The moment he gets a new secretary, she turns out to be someone like Yin, and worse, he can't bring himself to scold her harshly as he would with the others. "You're my fiancé, Yin. I truly love you." Jungkook's sudden words made Yin blink in surprise. Her heart began pounding again. "I'm sorry if I've made you upset while working here." Jungkook paused, his large fingers gently caressing her cold cheek. "But in the professional world, we have to be professional," Jungkook repeated. "I have a responsibility over many people's futures. If a mistake happens, their lives could be affected too. Do you understand, baby?" His soft voice and deep gaze completely entranced her. She now realized the heavy burden on his shoulders. Yin nodded and smiled sweetly. "I'm sorry, I'm still immature. I hope you won't get tired of teaching me to be better. I promise I'll be more mature starting next week." Jungkook frowned instantly. "Why next week? Are you scheduling when to be childish and when to be mature?" "No, not like that. It's still Tuesday. There's still Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and next Monday. I'll practice being mature during that time. I can't suddenly change overnight. I need practice. So please, don't give up on me too quickly." Jungkook was silent, unable to comprehend her unique way of thinking, but he let it go. What mattered was that she knew what she needed to work on. He took her hand and gently stroked her soft fingers. "I won't get tired. We'll be together for the rest of our lives. I'm ready to teach you many things. Life is hard, but I won't let you face it alone. I'll always be by your side. I hope you'll be there for me too." Yin nodded emotionally, her eyes brimming with tears. "I love you." Those 3 words made Jungkook's heart warm. An overwhelming feeling surged inside him. All this time, he thought he was the only one who had fallen in love, and that Yin had only accepted him because of their parents. But the way Yin spoke, the way she looked at him, he was now certain they shared the same feelings. Jungkook stared deeply into Yin's eyes. One hand caressed the back of her neck, his fingers tracing her soft lips gently. "You exposed my embarrassing moment to your friends. Don't you think you deserve a punishment?" he asked in a husky voice. "What kind of punishment?" Yin asked, her voice catching. Her heart was racing, feeling like it might burst out of her chest. Slowly, Jungkook leaned in, His eyes flicked between her lips and face. Yin froze. She couldn't move. She knew what was coming. "This punishment," he whispered, his lips hovering just in front of hers, then they touched. Yin closed her eyes. The pressure of his kiss grew stronger, making her slowly part her lips. He didn't waste the chance. He deepened the kiss, demanding more. His hand on the back of her neck pulled her closer as the sound of kisses filled the room. Their minds no longer thought clearly. The kiss was intoxicating. In one swift motion, he lifted her onto his lap. Their bodies were pressed together. Yin's short skirt rode up as Jungkook pulled her even closer. "Someone might see," Yin panted when their kiss broke, just as Jungkook leaned in to kiss her again. Jungkook reached for something on the table without setting her down. A soft click followed, and Yin turned to glance behind her. "It's locked. No one will see us," he whispered. Seeing Yin disheveled like this drove him crazy. To him, she looked even more beautiful and tempting. Her red lips were swollen, her hair messy, 2 buttons of her blouse undone, her eyes dazed and her lips slightly parted. Yin looked incredibly sexy right now. "But I don't want us to go too far before we're married," Yin said again just as Jungkook leaned in. She could see the way he looked at her now, and she understood what that gaze meant. "No, or just kissing. I can control myself," Jungkook replied firmly. "Promise?" "I promise. If I start to lose control, I'll stop right away." Then they kissed again, but this time, it was far more intense. They didn't care they were still at the office. Didn't care if they might miss a meeting. On that big sofa, they embraced and poured out all their feelings for each other. 1 week before Yin and Jungkook's wedding, all the employees were shocked by the arrival of a wedding invitation under the names Jeon Jungkook and Park Yin. They were stunned by the photo and names printed on the golden card. "What the? So Yin has been boss Jungkook's fiancé all along?" Yuju stared at the golden paper in disbelief. "No wonder Yin was never afraid of Mr. Jungkook," said Mina. "It's honestly hard to believe," murmured Bam Bam, shaking his head. "They played it so well. Not a single one of us suspected anything." But Yin and Mr. Jungkook really do suit each other. Beautiful and handsome. They both come from respectable families, equal status. "I just recently found out that Yin's father is the Jeon family's trusted lawyer, and the one who saved this company from that case a few months ago," Mina added, nodded at by both Bam Bam and Yuju. That entire week, Yin and Jungkook became the hottest topic of conversation. Many male employees were heartbroken because Yin was getting married, but they couldn't do anything about it and had to admit defeat. After all, the man she was marrying was Jungkook. They simply couldn't compare to their CEO. On the other hand, many female employees were just as heartbroken that Jungkook was getting married. Ever since the invitations were sent out, Jungkook openly showed his affection for Yin and treated her so sweetly. They were often seen having lunch together, laughing and joking. In the end, the rest of the employees could only watch silently without daring to comment too much. Of course, none of them wanted to risk their careers at the company.